Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. It's good to have a Bible, to be able to open up the lid of the Bible and find comfort in words. There's just nothing like the comfort of God. No amount of money can buy it. No matter how much obedience we have, if we have obedience in the wrong thing, then what have we got? Nothing. Paul was very faithful in going to these different places to preach the gospel. Paul's concern was very, very great. I'm looking at the first chapter of the book of Philippians, and I have read all the way down to the verse where I want to get to. In verse number 8, it says, "For God is my record." What he's actually saying, he's talking to the deacons and the pastors of the Philippian church. He's talking to the high up officials in the church. He could very well even be talking to the membership of the church. But he's putting them on notice. And when he uses that word, "for God is my record," it's no different than him would be saying, "for God is my witness." Meaning, here's what that means, that Paul is going to tell these people the truth. The truth shall set you free. Only the truth will set you free. For God is my record. All he has to go on is the words that he wrote down. See, he wrote these words in Philippians, Ephesians, Corinthians, Thessalonians. He wrote all these places where he puts his name at the very top of the verse. He's letting it be known who it is that is writing this. He's not writing this with his own inspiration. He's writing this with the inspiration of God. God is the one that has given him the ability and the authority to write these things. And when he says that "for God is my record," he's saying God is my witness, meaning I have no reason to lie. Paul is not going to lie to any of these people. He is deeply moved by these deacons and these high-up officials of the church. He says here, "How greatly I long after you all in the bowels of Jesus Christ." I long after you, meaning he is showing a depth of himself that I dare say that is the normal in today's walk. You don't have many people that shows their bowels of concern. For the most part, everybody is about them. It's about money. It's about the way we do things. It's about our agenda and what our agenda is. And sometimes I think that our agenda is basically left on the back row of the church. The agenda from the pulpit is not God's agenda. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I'm not out here to try to pick a fight with nobody, but what Paul was saying here, "How greatly I long after you all in the bowels of Jesus Christ." Not so much in the bowels of Paul. But see, Jesus was living in Paul. And so the reason he can say that I long after you all in the bowels of Jesus Christ. He's just being Paul in a depth that sometimes I believe it's hard for us to even imagine. It says, and this I pray. Now this was Paul's prayer that he prayed to God for these people. These people were being interceded by the Apostle Paul. And this I pray, that your love may abound. That the love that you have, the love that you showing these Philippian people may abound. Meaning that it may get stronger over time. When love abounds, wouldn't it be neat that a couple that's been together for 30 years, wouldn't it be neat to know that 30 years, the love is still abounding more and more? I fall so short of my love falling short. I mean, I can look at my own life and see where there's times that I have let my love fall short, whether it comes to my wife, whether it comes to my family, whatever it may be. He's saying right here that your love may abound yet more and more. See, if my love was at this level last year, is God happy with my love staying at the same level? Or does he want that level to even get a little bit more? He's talking about here that your love may abound more and more in the knowledge. The knowledge of what? The knowledge of God. Let your love may abound more and more in knowledge and in all judgment. These preachers of Philippians should understand the depth of judgment. Any minister that's going to stand behind the pulpit needs to know the ramification of somebody that is not a believer. And see, their job is to speak the truth. Their job is to speak facts. And this judgment is part of his prayer. That your love may abound yet more and more in the knowledge and in all judgment. What does that mean? The judgment that God is going to place on the world, then they should grow in the judgment of what God's going to do. See, I feel like I don't need anybody to come out here and tell me to study up on what the judgment is going to be, because I already got a pretty good idea of the judgment. These people could say they've got a good idea of the judgment, but a lot of times we'll let people bring down that judgment, and we don't want to talk about it, because if we talk about judgment, it's going to make people mad. They won't give their money to the church anymore. They won't tithe anymore. And the church needs the money. See, we're more concerned about money than we are about telling somebody the judgment of God that is placed on their life. It doesn't stop there at verse 9. It goes on, that ye may approve things that are excellent. Now, what is the things that are excellent? the ways of God, the understanding of God. This verse that we just read up here, the things, how greatly I long after you and all the bowels of Jesus Christ. We're talking about things here that are excellent in the ways of God, excellent in the lifestyle of God, excellent. There's not many things, I hate to say it, there's not many excellent things in the houses of prayer today. There's really not, because see, God looks at the heart and the intent of the heart. He looks at the innermost man. He just doesn't look on the surface. We're too busy judging how people look on the outward rather than giving a message of judgment on the inward. I think we're too focused on the outward rather than the inward. What is he saying right here? That ye may approve things that are excellent. How many excellent things are in the church today that is not around pollution? Take somebody, I used this example the other day. Take a plate of food. And the plate of food is basically on my hand right here. And I've got a fork and I've got the utensils to eat that food. And all of the food looks good. But on one part of the plate, there's filth. I'm talking about feces of filth. You could have butter beans. You could have corn. You could have broccoli. You can have mac and cheese. You can have rice and gravy and maybe a meat. But in the middle, you got stuff that you're not going to touch. Would you go ahead and eat all around it? If there was something in the middle that just doesn't supposed to be there, would you just eat in around it? No. What is he saying right here? That ye may approve things that are excellent. He doesn't stop there. That ye may be sincere. Now, I've used this statement. I don't know where I heard it. I've said it all my life since I was 13 or so years old. You can be sincere and sincerely wrong. Now, is he saying here that ye may be sincere? Yes. Does he want the ministers of the Philippian church to be sincere? There's a lot of sincere people, but are they sincerely wrong? Are they eating the food around the feces that is on the plate? Now, I'm not trying to be gross, people. God knows my heart. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to get you to look at just because there's a plate of food doesn't mean that everything that is on the plate of food is wholesome. If you got something in the middle of your plate that's going to affect your appetite of the stuff around, I don't think I would be eating anything on the plate. I think if anything, I would take and throw away the plate and the food with it. And what is he saying here to these people? Paul is saying that ye may approve things that are excellent, that ye may be sincere and without offense. Without offense. But we too busy allowing people to eat the garbage that is on the plate. We'll sprinkle it up with some nice giblet corn. We'll sprinkle it up with some nice string beans and a nice homemade biscuit. But we settle for the stuff that is in the middle that is rotten, that is no count. I think even the Bible even talks about the dunghill. The dunghill is where the place of the waste goes. When it's waste, it goes to the dunghill. You would never put the dung on your plate. And why the churches are consistent in being sincere, but yet they want to put dung on your plate. And that's just not good. That's not what he's saying right here. That ye may be sincere and without offense until the day of Christ. Now, I looked at that when I come out here. Until the day of Christ. Well, when is the day of Christ? Well, some people is going to say the day of Christ is when Jesus returns. And I would say that would be a fact. But when did Jesus return for them back in the day of the Philippian book? The day of Christ came when they died. When they died, the Bible says absent from the body is present with the Lord. So when these folks died, and they died in Christ, then they died in the day of the Lord. Now, is it referring to the day of the Lord as the rapture of the day of the Lord? I would hope that I would be able to see the day of the Lord without me dying. That would be a great blessing, is to live a life that I can come out here and tell my thoughts about what I get out of the scripture and do it without an offense, because he says here that ye may be sincere and without offense until the day of Jesus Christ. But see, sometimes I think we settle for the offense more than we settle for the pure ways of God. We want to mix in the world. Again, it's like eating a plate of food that has something in the middle that ain't designed to eat. And then he goes on into verse 11, being filled with the fruits of righteousness. Well, we're looking at the word fruits of righteousness right here. You have a plate of fruit. I like apples. I like strawberries. I like peaches. There's a lot of fruits that I like. Would I want to eat a rotten peach? Can a rotten peach be edible? No. What is he saying? Being filled with the fruits of righteousness. Paul was telling them preachers in Philippians here, I want you to be fruits of righteousness. You notice that it used the word fruits of righteousness, which are by Jesus Christ. Now, would Jesus serve something to us that wasn't fit to eat? Would Jesus give us something that was part of it was not fit to eat? Remember when he fed the 5,000 and he prayed and he asked God to multiply the food, and it was the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes? Do you think there was anything in there that wasn't edible? Absolutely not. Everything that Jesus multiplied was edible and it was good. And what he's talking about here, being filled with the fruits of righteousness, which are by Jesus Christ. But yet we want to be content in eating of the feces. Just ain't really no easy way to say it. Too many places are getting away with feeding stuff that is not healthy, that is not good, that is not right. I love Krispy Kreme donuts, and I could eat them every day. but my wife don't buy them every day. You know why? Because I don't need them every day. Even though they're sweet and even though they're good and they taste awesome, it's not going to help my health one iota. So it would really be a lot like that Krispy Kreme donut that would be in the middle of my plate. It don't always have to be things that taste horrible and is putrefied. Sometimes we settle for things that, oh, it's so sweet and it's so good, but yet it's so deadly. It is what it is, because it says here, being filled with the fruits of righteousness. Being filled. You know where I think that we love to be? We love to be about half full. Let's don't get carried away, Ken, about being filled. You're talking more like a Pentecostal now, being filled. No, I'm talking about what the verse says. Being filled with the fruits of righteousness, not just halfway. Remember the glass that says that it's half full or half empty? It's still half empty. And it's half full, depending on how you're looking at it. Being filled with the fruits of righteousness. So does he want me to be filled with the fruits of righteousness? What is the fruit of righteousness? The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. There's no limit. You know, when you buy a Pepsi, about that much under the cap is empty. The machine or the pump that pumps it into the bottle leaves about that much, and then they put the cap on it. I guess they allow that to allow the liquid to move freely without building up too much pressure, because when you open the cap, you hear the air come out of it. You hear the product hitting the air. That's being filled. I believe the Lord wants to see us have a little bit of something coming out of us that pleases him, that really pleases him. Not just in cheap words. Paul's not saying cheap words right here. He's saying what he's saying right here, that ye be filled with the fruits of righteousness, which are by Jesus Christ, meaning that's where the fruits come from. That's where the fruits are generated from, is in Jesus Christ, unto the glory and praise of God. That was Paul's prayer, that he was praying for them ministers that was speaking the gospel in Philippians. This was Paul's way of giving them a pep talk. Now, what kind of pep talk does the Lord want to give us today? I believe he's wanting to give us the same kind of pep talk. Don't be eating stuff that's on your plate that ain't good. I believe that's what the Lord sees when we mix the world with the things that Paul was telling these preachers to preach. And that's not what's happening today. We're preaching too much of the stuff that we think people need, rather than having the attitude, God, give me something that the people need to hear. This might be a message one day I might end up using, and I might end up using it in the exact same way. Elderly Ministry is the website here. You can contact me. There's a phone number there that is on the webpage. You can go there, get the phone number, call me. If you got a question about salvation, please reach out to me. Please call me. leave me a message. Leave me your name and phone number, and I'll be glad to get back with you. You can also go to YouTube as well. YouTube is available for you. If you'd like to go to YouTube, by all means go to YouTube and download the video. There's a phone number on the bottom of most every one of these up-to-date videos. You'll see a phone number, and you're welcome to give me a buzz. All I can do is bring the word to you, and it's up to you to eat on it. And I hope that you do. Thank y'all for listening.